Okay, we are live now, and I want to say good night to everyone. Thank you for viewing. This is episode 2 of Empowering Teachers for Success. I'm Amanda, and I am the host of and the page owner of Empowering Teachers for Success. I do have the Facebook group as well, the Teachers Lounge, which you can access through the page. Now, everywhere around the world, teachers seem to have the same voice. They talk about how they struggle in the classroom with feelings of failure, inadequacy, they burn out quickly, and they struggle to find that balance between work and life. And they struggle to the point of wanting to leave the profession and just give up. My mission or goal is really to motivate, to educate and empower educators, to give them the tools that they need or they can use to elevate themselves or take themselves out of that struggle so they can be more confident and more successful in their roles. Now, today's discussion is focused on the students. They're the ones that we inspire, they're the ones that we teach every day and we face every day. I personally believe that when my students succeed, I also succeed. Their successes or their failures can in part be a reflection of what we do or what we don't do as teachers. And I say in part because I firmly believe that the home has a very important part to play when it comes to the success or failure of a student. So we're going to dive into taking a look at the students, how they perceive their successes and their failures, and the impact it can have on their emotional and their mental health, and how this information possibly can affect education reform in the long run. So then perhaps we can determine, what we as teachers can do differently to ensure that our students succeed and ultimately increasing our own levels of success in the classroom. So today's topic is survival scholars and advocating for the student mental health. And I have here with me tonight Dawsher Charles, who
Hi.
is from Trinidad and Tobago, again, my home country. And Dawsher is a youth activist, founder of and managing director of Survival Scholars. And I happened upon Dawsher on Facebook quite by accident recently. And I was really intrigued by all that she's been doing for a very young person. So, and all of which she's going to share with us, most of it she's going to share with us tonight on this, on this discussion. So, Doris, I'm going to open the floor to you now just to introduce yourself and then to tell us a little bit more about scholar, survival scholars.
Thank you very much, Amanda, for having me on. I am Dawsher Charles, the founder and managing director of Survival Scholars. I am a youth leader, a change maker. I am very, very passionate about change in the education system. I advocate for students' mental health and wellness, in addition to having a balance with their academic achievement. So, Survival Scholars, it's a support system that is geared towards helping students and empowering them with the tools needed to cope with school and life challenges. We equip them with resilience skills, social and emotional skills that will help them in terms of overcoming any obstacles that come in their path so that they can advance themselves and be successful in their school journey.
Very good. Wow. And I know recently, I'm just going to go back to you a little bit in terms of what you have been doing. I know you've recently been awarded an honorary doctorate of something. So can you tell me a little bit more about that? How that came about for you?
Yes, I have been recently awarded the United Nations Rescue Services honorary doctorate in social work. for my contribution and capacity in terms of empowering students with their mental health and wellness, social work, making their lives better, so that they can deal with any challenges and any difficult circumstances that they are faced with. I am very, very grateful for the award. It was very unexpected, but I'm very grateful for it, as I know that it will add to my credibility and my experience in the field of education and youth development, youth empowerment, mental health. Okay.
Of course, yeah. I mean, when I saw that, I said, "Whoa, she's gotten a doctorate, honorary doctorate. That's very impressive." And yes, you are a change maker, and I guess people. And this was from Nigeria. Was it Nigeria? Was it someone
Yes.
in Nigeria?
Yeah.
So they are recognizing the work that you're doing for. I mean, it's only been a few years you've been doing this, maybe about 3 years,
Yeah.
right? That you've actually registered the survival scholars, and now in that, what kind of impact have you seen? The things that you do. So I know you do workshops and you have
Yeah.
programs for youth,
Yeah.
things like that. What kind of impact do you think you're having on the students with that?
Honestly, I believe that we are having a great direct impact, more so because we are equipping students with the tools needed directly, so that they can cope and deal with any challenges. I do a lot of assessments, continuous assessments, throughout our programs, and even follow up assessments afterwards to ensure that the students are practicing and implementing what they have learned from our programs, because it's so important for me, especially to ensure that our approach to educating the children, empowering them,
Mhm.
is effective, so that they can also use the tools and make it habitual in their journey of life.
Okay. Now, with in terms of the students, now you want to empower them, you want to ensure them. What kind of issues do these students face at school that that this is going to help them with?
Well, one of the major challenges students face is the inability to cope with changes, challenges, difficult circumstances. And I mean, this is happening more so now than ever, especially something like COVID, that brought about many changes for students. They have the change of going online for their education and many other challenges that they are facing, unable to see their friends physically and interact with them. And another challenge I see students face is the lack of motivation, due to what is going on in their environment. You
Mhm.
know, difficulties that they are facing at home or even in school, whether it be a learning challenge that they are facing with a subject, or whether it be a challenge at home. And we go back to the first main problem, which is coping. Yeah, once they're able to cope with these challenges, then they will be able to motivate themselves to do their best despite the challenges that they are facing.
Right. And that's very, very true. I mean, they do, and I've seen it myself in the classrooms where children or students, regardless of age, I'm talking elementary, I'm talking any age group, adults, high school students, they do have emotional challenges or mental challenges. Some of
Hmm.
them are coming from home with the problem,
Yeah,
okay? And that actually impedes their learning in the classroom.
yeah, it
Okay,
does.
so it's very, very real. And we, as teachers or as educators, we have to be able to recognize the problem.
Most
If
important,
the
yeah.
student is not learning, something else is happening. Whether it's a learning disability or, and I don't like labeling children or I don't like
Exactly.
labeling learners. Um,
Yeah.
but the problem has to be recognized. Sometimes it goes a little deeper than just the learning disability that we might assume a
Yeah,
child or a learner might have. Okay.
exactly. Yeah.
Um, the online learning definitely is a challenge. There's also a challenge with some teachers.
Yes.
one, probably not having access to internet, especially in the smaller islands, or even having the the resources, the computer,
Yeah.
for the online learning. So that I've had teachers online, a couple of colleagues of mine, working in Trinidad and Tobago and looking for computers
Mm-hmm.
that or other kind of resources so they can help their students, through this entire coping, as you said, coping with the online learning or being away from school. Very good. And yes, motivation is certainly something that needs to be looked at, right? If they don't have the coping skills, there's a lack of motivation. So you're very, very right with that.
Yeah.
You did mention, that may not be mentioned, but I saw it either on your website or in something you said on your Facebook page, where students are, they look at their grades, so results,
Right.
right? How does that impact the student? So in the classroom, where I think you mentioned having different levels of ability, of course,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then the grades and all these things that impact the student negatively as well emotionally. So can you explain a little bit more about that and what you meant with that?
Yeah, so we're recently finishing up our Stories of a Statistics campaign. Well, honestly, I'm saying finishing up, but I feel like it could go all throughout the year because it's something like this is so important to bring awareness to. Stories over statistics, focusing more on students' experiences in school as opposed to their grades and their results. More so because I believe honestly that grades are not a true representation of a student's journey. It cannot tell what challenges that student faced or overcome to get where they are at that point in time. It doesn't tell how many sleepless nights, or it doesn't tell the different things that a student went through to get where they are,
Mhm.
even if it's failure or success, even if it's a grade one or grade three. It doesn't tell that student's background, the amount of sleep that student gets at home. It
Mhm.
doesn't tell what if that student is experiencing abuse or any of those things. And so we get caught up in terms of labeling true grades or
Mhm.
statistics as opposed to looking deeper at the student's school story. For instance, when myself, I would say that sometimes I did well in school and then sometimes I didn't, right? But more so, everyone likes to hear about the good grades and like to label you with those good grades. And they would be like, hey, this is a girl who passed, who placed on the merit list for CXC. But
Mhm.
they did not know what hour I went to sleep and what hour I had to get up to go to school, and my struggles helping my dad selling San and these different things. They didn't know that, and to me, that was just not enough to label me as, hey, the girl who plays on the merit list. That was not enough for me, and I now had to define myself further or with more worth than just a statistic.
Interesting. That's a very interesting point because I know I haven't been following the story fully with the whole CXC thing recently and what's been going on with grades and students being disappointed. I
Yeah,
don't I didn't follow the full story, but I'm guessing it's around it's something same thing you're looking at, statistics.
yeah.
How is that defined? It's defining our students.
Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah,
know, are we the ones to change that?
yeah,
Why are we using grades to define, how well they do or who they, it's almost like defining who they are and where they're going to go next. That's
yeah,
what it does,
yeah.
you know, and you're right, without looking at the background or the story of that individual.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. They're all coming from different backgrounds. What does one have to do to get to that point?
Yeah, exactly.
What struggles that they have to go through.
Mm-hmm.
And you're right. Was there abuse? Is there abuse? Did I have to get up 4 o'clock in the morning to sell something for my parents in the market before I got ready to go to school or before I studied? So the challenges are different, the struggles are different, and how the students react are going to be different.
Yes, that is so true. Because of different coping skills. Yeah. Those who are equipped with coping skills, they would be able to manage a bit better and they would be motivated to push through those obstacles or those trials.
Right.
However, those who may not have sufficient or enough coping skills, they may now rebel or act out in their behavior also, and they would want a different route. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, they're right. So the programs, give me a little bit more background on the programs that you actually do for your students or for the learners. What when they call you, I know there's a website, and I'll put a link to your website at the end. Um, when they call survival or they go on the website and they check out survival scholars, what kinds of
Mhm.
programs are you offering to learners?
The programs that we have, one is our Resilient Warrior camp, where we equip students with resilient skills such as self love, emotional intelligence, creative self expression, goal setting, and vision creation. All these important social and emotional skills that will help them develop that resilience and these coping skills that are necessary for their journey. In addition to this, we also have de-stressors, which I think is very, very important.
Mm-hmm,
Um, and we try to advocate for regular de-stressors, not de-stressors after exams. Because what happens is like, so for a major exam like SEA,
mm-hmm,
they would, cram children in many lessons, just you name it, whole day they have school and learning. And when you look at what does the child do in terms of relaxation or balance or for their mental health and wellness, there isn't anything. And so some parents believe that, hey, when after SA you could go and probably eat and go movies and whatever, anything else, but not now. You have to just focus on your work. But honestly, research shows that having that balance, having those extracurricular activities, um, following up to exams helps a child with their memory and their recollection of
mm-hmm.
information, and helps them with their anxiety, to manage their anxiety as well. So, honestly, we definitely need to instill regular distressors or stress relief programs for students, and that's what Survivor Scholars does. We advocate for that regular distressors for students.
Excellent. And I can relate to what you're saying because I taught the SDA class for close to 7 years, 5 to 7 years. I had that class, so I know the stressors. I know exactly what you're talking about. I know the drills that
Yes.
we put the students through daily, even on the weekends. We have them come in on a Saturday, to because of the and I bring it down to the competition in education,
Yep.
especially in Trinidad and Tobago.
Yeah.
Um, it is tough.
It
Okay,
is.
and the parents are on the teachers. Okay, my child has to go to a private school. My child has to pass for the best, and they have lessons. I know I had lessons. My kids came in the morning for half an hour, and I took them for half an hour after school.
Right.
But then some of them would then go to extra lessons after they leave me, and I'll tell the parents, well, they don't really need it, but it's
Mhm.
not my place. But
Yeah.
the only thing I got away, what I did was not give any homework,
Okay. That's good.
right?
Like,
That was my
yeah.
thing. I said, if we can cover the work in the day and we do enough of it, they don't need the extra homework because they're leaving me to go to extra lessons
Yeah.
in the evenings. And then they have extracurricular activities like dance and whatever. So they don't have the time and
Mhm.
they're tired.
Yeah.
So I recognize that I ensure that I gave no homework as an extra stressor.
Well, that's really good. And even for those students who had extracurricular activities like dance and stuff, that would help students. But I know some parents, when students have exams,
They teach
SCM
them how
stuff,
to
they'll be
do
like,
everything.
stop, yeah, no more that until exams done, no more football, no more dance, no more. And
Mhm.
it really hurts the child. It really does.
And when you look at, even in psychology, right? Because I mean, you're looking at a 10, 12-year-old
Yeah.
having to write an SE exam. The exam is 3 hours long. Adults, very, even adults find it hard to sit to write an exam for 3 hours. So
Yeah.
why do we expect a 10-year-old or 12-year-old to do so? Okay, that's just my opinion, and it's always been my opinion. Um, when it comes to the SCA, it's very, very stressful for a young child to go through that the period before, which is maybe like 4 to 5 months, 6 months before, they are drilled
Mhm.
in preparation for an exam, and then you have to sit for 3 hours to do it.
In one go.
Very
And you try
stressful,
to recollect the entire all 2 years of work. Yeah.
right? It's hard for them. And even college students or university students, because I know here, for example, I'm in Canada, we had one of our universities, there was a high incidence of suicide.
Hmm.
Okay. And again, likely because of the stress of school and not having the coping skills,
Hmm.
um, not being able to relate or to talk or to find the help that they need.
Yeah.
And again, pressures of statistics, right?
Mm.
I
Yeah.
need to have a 4.0 GPA,
Yeah.
and I can't, but I have to, and they push themselves and then to the limit of the whole mental health thing coming up, and suicide and depression and anxiety and all these things come up.
Yeah. Many
But not
mental health
only the
issues.
little ones, you also have the older ones that have to deal with it as well.
Hmm.
I teach adults right now, and they have their own emotional issues that they have and physical issues. So having to go back to school after 20 to 30 years or 40 years for some of them,
Yeah.
that's an emotional thing there for them too. And they do have days of depression and anxiety and because you're learning new things. So it's everywhere. It's from any age group it impacts.
Yeah. It does.
It does, right? So yeah. Now, how are your programs funded though?
Some of our programs are actually funded through us. In terms of we get sponsors,
Mhm.
and some of them are through parents itself. But we have our cost at a very, very, very low cost that is extremely affordable for parents. And if any parents do need sponsorship for their child, we try to seek that sponsorship for them.
Okay, that's and where do you run your programs though?
Well, for now, it's online virtually. However, sometimes it would be at community centers, police youth groups, different areas in Trinidad and Tobago.
No, that's good. All right. Um, Now I want you. I saw on your website where you have this one of the services that you offer is trauma invested or trauma informed services. So I
Yeah.
want you to explain a little bit about that for me because I think it's going to link directly to the schools and the teachers and the administrators. So tell me a bit more about that service, what you do, and what is the outcome for a service like that.
Right. So the trauma invested or trauma informed school care or approach is where we empower teachers about the relevance and the importance of mental health and wellness in school.
Mhm.
Particularly, we show the trauma side of different students, of what students' realities are. Because sometimes teachers would see students coming to school, doing work and whatnot. It may be the quietest student or it may be the most misbehaved student, but every single student has their own challenges that they are facing. And it's so important for us to ensure that all teachers are aware of this. Sometimes it may have a misconception of teachers thinking that students just probably being bad for just being bad.
Mhm.
But in reality, some students behave bad because they don't have those coping skills, that emotional regulation to help themselves. And so, with the trauma informed and invested care, it looks at compassionate classrooms where teachers have empathy towards all students, no matter their behavior, no matter their grades or their performance, having that empathy approach where they form relationships with students. There's restorative circles. They empower their students through social and emotional learning. And there's also this whole school approach whereby everyone, the teachers, principal, everyone is working together to ensure that the school environment is one of a safe space for their students.
Okay, excellent, right? Now, and that's something, I mean, that's what I'm aiming for in terms of the empowerment for teachers and educators to be more successful in the classrooms. This really aligns well with what my mission is.
Yes.
Um, and it's very important that they are aware because I know there are teachers out there, whether it's in the islands or wherever in the world, not every single teacher is invested in their student. Okay. They do come to work, do the work, and they leave. There's no forming of that relationship that you're talking about with the student to get to know the student and get to know the background of that student so they can reach that student on an emotional level.
Yes.
Okay, so I yes, I hear you with that, and I know you say people don't always get what you're trying to do, and they ask you what it is that you do, but I think I get it in terms of helping the student deal and have them coping skills and having the support of the school,
Yes.
right? To
Most
help them
important.
because they may not always get it at home,
Yeah, that's true.
right? So, and they spend a lot of hours at the school. So, yes, the school
Yes.
should be an integral part of helping the students with their coping skills, with the emotional and development.
Yeah, I would also like to like add like for me, one of the most important aspects for me was my support system of teachers, honestly. Like I would have bunks in school like 9 minutes to 10, probably break time sometimes, but I didn't get that. Oh my God, what's going on with you? Go to the detention, or go back home one time. Like my teachers understood, like they knew that I probably slept in late because I had to sell with my dad or so, and so I wasn't pressured. They would ensure that I get the work. They would ensure that they get a student to give me the work that I missed also. So that really, that really relieved the stress for me. That really helped me to catch up and ensure that I stayed on top of my work, which is
Mhm.
so important. Yeah, that caring approach. I'm really, really grateful for that approach that my school had.
That's really good. And that's because they have that relationship with you. So they knew what was going on in the background,
Yeah,
right? If they didn't know that, you would have been in probably a different situation.
yeah.
Yeah, right. So with all of this, with the empowerment of the students and the school and the whole school approach, and do you think this would have an impact on education reform, or is that your vision? What's your vision for that? So that's
Most
going to be a whole
definitely.
new thing by itself.
Most definitely, yeah. My main goal and what I'm passionate about is truly evolutionizing the education system. And I believe that the trauma invested approach to school will definitely help and aid in the transformation of our education system. More so because it includes everything that our education system doesn't include now.
Mhm.
Um, and it really ensures that everyone has a closer relationship, and relationships really build us as human beings.
That's right.
So
You do.
definitely, children learning social and emotional skills. They having a closer connection and relationship with their teachers. That whole school approach where there's a holistic development of students. Definitely, I believe that this is the way forward for us to see that change in our education system, and it will also be an instance where we would now see students more than their grades or their statistics. We would see students for their stories and what they have overcome and what they have survived and thrived through to be where they are at that point of time.
And do you see a program working? I mean, you've had students come in and do your programs. What is their reaction when they go through a program with you? How do you see a difference or a change in them?
I most definitely do, and sometimes it's more so like instantaneously because like I would always follow up with parents. To me, honestly, like it's a holistic approach. The 360 approach, you have the teachers, the parents, and the students. I ensure that I stay in close communication with parents. It's like a partnership with parents to ensure that they understand what their child has learned, and
Mhm.
then I'll also try to model the behavior that they want their child to have as well.
Right.
So constantly reinforce those positive behaviors that they want their child to see. I really am glad that we see the changes in students more so because in our programs we are very real. I am very real. I tell students what I've been through honestly. I tell them all the things that I've done and what I failed to do before and whatnot. And so they could connect with me using real life social stories that they know happen in reality, really open them up to share their experiences and now see where they can improve moving forward.
That's great. That's great. Oh my God, this is so much information. I'm so glad you're doing what you're doing.
Well,
Um, so, what message would you like to give to all educators and anyone who you would like to encourage to support your initiative? What
um,
message would you want to give them or give me?
I would say we can do better in terms of like I really love what you're doing.
Thank
And
you.
I really love educators who see learning and empowering students as a collaborative approach as opposed to a competitive approach because once we go the route of competition, we form breakages, right? Collaboration creates relationships. And I would say to all educators, those are in the education system, collaborate, even parents, collaborate with the teachers. It's like a 360 approach, as I just said.
Yeah,
Everyone is involved. And once we have all hands on deck, we are ensured to see the results that we need to see. And
yeah.
so I would definitely say for our education system, which has been the same for numerous years, we definitely need to collaborate
Hmm.
in our efforts and we need to form synergies to work together to resolve the challenges that we see having that trauma informed care, having more focus on students' mental health and wellness, having more focus on students' school stories as opposed to the statistics of their life. And all of this will help to ensure that there's equality in education and that no child is left behind.
I think, oh my, yes, you're right. Now, when you talk about that whole 360 approach, my concept is a little bit different. I call it the homeschool connection. Um, but for me, it's like a triangle.
Mm-hmm.
Where I have the school, the parent, the child,
Yeah.
and everybody would, as you're right, in collaboration
Mm-hmm.
to for the success of the student.
Yeah.
Right. So yes, it's the same concept. Um, so I understand what you're trying to say there as well. All right. So I think we've covered a bit. Our time is almost up. And I just want to say thank you for joining me tonight. I'm going to give your links. So anyone who's interested in survival scholars, they can check out the Facebook page at Survival Scholars. I'll put the links in, afterwards. I'll post the links. We're also on Instagram at Survival Scholars, and the website www.survivalscholars.com. You can learn far more about what Dawsher has done and what programs they offer. And maybe have them come to your school, right, to do something. Whether I know it's in Trinidad and Tobago, but I'm sure things can be done virtually too. I mean, everything is done virtually these days, right?
Yes.
If you haven't, I'm going to post a video, of course, online after um, on the Facebook page, and I'm trying to get it on. I'll get it onto YouTube as well. I'm not
Okay.
able to put it onto Instagram because for some reason I can't do that. Up, it's too long of a video, but it's
Okay.
going to be on YouTube and it's going to be on my Facebook page. All right. And if you haven't, for viewers out there who have not liked my page yet, please go on over to Empowering Teachers for Success, like my page, and you will get updates as to when we're doing more videos and new Facebook Lives. And of course, I'm always looking for people to come on here and talk with me about education and how
Yeah.
we can help teachers, and educators be more successful in the classroom. All right. So, Dawsher, thank you so much
Thank you.
for coming and talking with me, sharing your experiences, sharing what you're doing, and good luck with Survival Scholars. You're doing an amazing job with that. And I really hope you get the support that you need
Yeah.
to take it even further. And education reform is a big thing,
It
but it's
is.
not impossible.
Yeah, I believe that as well.
Right. So you just have to get the right connections, talk to the right people, get things going. And yeah, there could be education reform. Right.
Definitely.
And yes, the objective is no child left behind. We do need to take care of our students. Uh,
Yeah.
and as I mentioned before when I started, if our students are successful, then we as educators are also successful.
I agree.
Right? We are, what happens in the classroom is a reflection of what we do in there. Okay. So once again, thank you. And thank you for viewing, everyone. And I'll let you know when the next Facebook Live is going to be. All right. So stay tuned.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're all welcome. Take care.
You too. Bye bye.
Right.